Hello, and thank you for clicking on this video. So I wanted to ask you, are there coincidences? So if you saw yesterday's video, I mentioned that I would have to do a video on this towards the end. But after I made that video, I wasn't planning on doing it today. But after I made that video, there was events that told me to do it today. So first of all, are there coincidences? It's just randomness, all that. This world wants to tell you that everything's a coincidence, really. They'll tell you that there's always a cause and effect, but things are always just random. Okay? Chaos. But especially at an early age, I mean, we're all really told in school about like the Big Bang Theory, which is a theory, but so-called experts can't tell you what caused the Big Bang. But they want to tell you that that's the way it happened. Now the thing is there's definitely, just like all man-made creations, including science, traditions, all that stuff, it can be used for love, for peace, for truth, what we call good, or it could be used for something that the lack of love, the lack of peace, the lack of truth. And the enemy is a master deceiver. Okay? And so, again, starting at a young age, we're really told everything's random and that everything's just really a coincidence. And I believe that. I believe that, of course, all through school. I was a good student. And really, it was the summer after I graduated high school, that summer, I actually decided, you know what, maybe I should read about this God fella. And so I read the New Testament for myself, and I found out that there were things that weren't exactly the way I was told, or the perception at least that's given. And that was kind of my first introduction to I would say my truth journey kind of started then. Before that, it was just being a good student, absorbing everything I'm told, learning, memorizing, testing, all that stuff, right? But that shapes the way you see things, the way you think of things. And anyway, so I started going down my journey of truth, but I thought, of course, there's God. I was a believer, I would say. Of course, there's God. Of course, nothing's impossible. Of course, all that stuff. But that's just a coincidence. That's just a coincidence. Until a couple years ago. And let me tell you, there are no coincidences, okay? And when you really think about it, if you're a believer, or even what I call a knower, if God is all knowing, how can there be anything he doesn't? How can there be any randomness? If he's almighty, how can there just be coincidences? So, and really, when God really was active in my life here about 2.5 years ago and really showed me some things, I realized that I didn't really, like, God was kind of just a thought, an idea, I guess you would say, but he really made himself real real in my life. And but to get back to coincidences, so things I see now how God has always been there, and there's always been a purpose. But I didn't see it that way. I saw it as coincidences. But let me tell you, there is no coincidences. Like we think about God, we think about Him moving mountains, doing the impossible. Like there's nothing too big for God. But let me tell you, there's also nothing too, what we see in a worldly view, as too small for God either. He's the infinite. He loves you. He is love. He's the Almighty. There's no limits. Like we have a mindset of limitations. Like, there's only so much resources to go around. There's only one top position in the department to grab, and everybody wants it. So competition. We're also taught that at a young age. Friendly competition, which I can't say much about. That's a whole different video. I love sports. So But so if He is the Almighty, if He is the all-powerful, how can there be any randomness for coincidences? So again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, so let me tell you about yesterday. Of course, some of it I talked about in yesterday's video, and but this is an example of there are no coincidences, okay? So as I mentioned, first thing in the morning, I saw that red cardinal, and as soon as those words, literally, I was thinking of the words perfect timing. At the same time, it was perfect timing. Perfect timing for that red cardinal to grab my attention. It was like God saying, yep, I got it. Ain't nothing too big, but nothing's too small for Him too. So don't limit God. He's infinite. But anyway, so that happened. And then I got ready for work. I was about to go to work, and I'm going to try to keep this video short. So basically, I had to move my mother in. I had to take care of her health issues. On oxygen all the time. She had cancer, a third of her lung removed. She's on diabetes. She's overweight. She has bad knees. But yesterday, right before I needed to go to work, she broke her oxygen part, like the part that goes around the ears and in the nose, okay? So she couldn't use her oxygen, and she's on oxygen all the time. Now, if she stays still, she's okay. But if she goes to the bathroom, the kitchen, all that stuff, that's, it's hard on her. And it happened right when I had to go for work. I have no free time there. And so I admit, I got mad. Just, it's reaction. So anyways, she will have to go 3 days until the medical supply place can do a delivery in 3 days. She can't go 3 days without that. And it's not like you can go down to Lowe's or Home Depot and just pick up one of those things. So I did the video yesterday, and again, just now, the event with that cardinal made me bring up coincidences. And at the end of the video, it made me say, I'm going to do a video on coincidences. I wasn't thinking about doing it today. But let me tell you what happened in the evening. So I went to a hospital and went to the front desk, and there was only a security guard and one lady there. And I went up there and kind of explained the situation with my mother. And, is there any way, I know you can't go to the hospital and just kind of buy some medical supplies. But I tried anyway. And the lady even said that, normally, no, we can't just give you that or can't sell it to you. But I happen to be a respiratory therapist. She says, hold on a minute. went in the back, came out with two of them. Not just one, but two. So, needless to say, got home and got my mother's oxygen stuff going right. But think about that. So I went to the right hospital at the right time, because this is not a receptionist at that desk. It's not like she's there all day. This is a respiratory therapist that was covering or there for a short time, whatever they do there, I don't know, who had access to the oxygen tube things. I don't know what the name is. I forget the name, but and not only that, but it was the right person, because not even in that position, not everybody would say, okay, I'm going to do this for this guy. She did it. And I thank God, because He makes things happen. There are no coincidences. And that event told me yesterday evening that I'm going to have to do a video on coincidences today to talk about that. But all those events kind of it's amazing when you can see stuff, because before a couple years ago, I wouldn't even have noticed really that stuff. I would have been, I was lucky. I was lucky. What a coincidence. But I want to tell you that there's nothing out of His control. There's nothing He doesn't know about. There are no coincidences. There are no randomness. There's nothing that's not beneath Him in the worldly thinking. Because again, we think about miracles. And that's also partly why I believe He wants me to do these videos. Of course, share what He does in my life. But to let people know, don't use your worldly perspective on thinking, this is too small for God. Why should He care about this thing today? But He does, because you care about it, and He loves you. And there is no limits with Him. It's not like, He speaks the word and creates a universe. Like us, we have to work for things, we have to do things. It's a little bit different perspective. But just think about God's the infinite almighty. And if you say that, that's too small for God, you're limiting God, which is taken away from His glory, because He loves you. Okay? So, there's that example yesterday. That this is the way He works, though. Okay? Let me tell you about, say, last year. Okay? Last year, a bunch of my cousins, my aunt, who is dying of cancer. She's fought it for so long, and now she's not. She's done fighting it. So, anyways, my cousin organized, got the place, everything about going to on a vacation together, because it's been a long time since we all went together on a vacation. And about a week or just over a week before, there were some unforeseen financial things in my life. And with my situation with my work, if I don't work, I don't make money. That's it. There's no paid vacations. There's not like that. If I don't work, there's no money. There's, And so I had to tell them that, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be able to make it. Well, one of my cousins, and he's worked at the same place for 20 plus years, whatever. And he's in a similar situation where if he doesn't work, he's not making money. He doesn't get paid vacations. But his boss paid him for that week ahead of time, which has never happened in 2 decades plus for him. So he had extra unforeseen money that allowed me to go on this vacation, which is priceless. It was priceless. A priceless experience, memories. That's what life's about. The people we interact with, how, and what we do with people, our relationships with people. It's not money, it's not things. And for God, nothing's impossible. But that was a lot of coincidences for me to be able to be there. And there were so many experiences on that trip that are priceless. But there was a purpose. There's always a purpose. And so I want to share this stuff to try to tell you at least my experiences. I mean, I can't tell you what to think or what to do. Of course, we're all on our own journey. We all have our own lessons, our own relationship with God. But let me tell you, there are no coincidences. There's nothing too small for God. Of course, there's nothing too big for God. But there's nothing too small for God. I mean, if you want to talk about something big, I would say, okay, like about a year and a half ago, my brother had a blood clot in his lungs, and it moved obviously, and it was in his lungs and in both lungs, and it was big. His life was in danger. I mean, if he moved a certain way, the wrong way, and something broke off or whatever, he could have just been out. And it was like an emergency surgery. I mean, it wasn't just like, once they saw what it was that life-threatening. It was emergency surgery. And after the surgery, even the doctor said it was a miracle, because he was having pains and stuff for days. And he's stubborn like I am. And he lived through that. Even after the operation, like one of the assistants or nurses or whatever, she was trying to describe so we could understand maybe just how life-threatening, how lucky, how much a miracle it really was. And she even used the words, the shape of it, if you can imagine, like in the lungs, she said the shape of the clot itself was like angel wings. I mean, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. So there's nothing too big or nothing too small, but there's no coincidences. So try to be aware of that. Try to involve God in all things. And get ready for the ride, as I've said before. I mean, it's the best surprises every day that go beyond our understanding. I mean, there's like layers to what he does, and it's like I mentioned before, it takes my brain some time to even catch up sometimes. It takes events to unfold to really see things sometimes. That's why you also have to trust in him, because we have limited understanding. He knows, and there's always a purpose. There's always an end that is good. And it may be going through the fire at the time, and it always sucks, but there's a purpose and an end that's good. Trust in him. So anyways, thank you for watching. And if you liked the video, of course, thumbs up, subscribe, ring-a-ding-a-ling that bell. And please share your comments and thoughts below, experiences where you see it's not just coincidences, to share, because again, I love reading and hearing about God's work and people's walk, but also for people who don't know. Because it is what life's about. I mean, you haven't lived life unless you involve God in your life, let me tell you. And There's nothing that compares the excitement, the fun, the surprises, the miracles, the coincidences, which aren't coincidences really. So stay strong and God bless.